to thank our sponsors, insure123.com, helping you with all of your personal and business insurance needs. Please check them out at insur123.com. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tech Sheck. And as always, bringing you unique, interesting, and pretty cool stories about what's happening in the Pakistan tech ecosystem. And before I dive into our next guest, know that we've got a big conference coming down the pike here on September 8th. Great for people to either participate or, if not, watch the recordings and engage. Great efforts going on. And with that, appropriately, I want to introduce our next guest, Mikal Khoso from Wavemaker Capital. Mikal, thank you for coming on the show.
Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Well, as we do Tech Check style, let's jump right in. Mikal, tell us, what's Wavemaker Capital doing and what kind of waves are you making in Pakistan?
We're trying to make some pretty big ones, although we're pretty stealthy. I'd say, we've been in Southeast Asia for 10 years. We've watched that boom. We've been part of it across, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines. And as we started looking at South Asia 2 years ago, we said the similar potential is here.
Right.
If you ignore India for the moment, where there's been quite a bit of an ecosystem develop over time that's self-contained. If you look around India, you have 500 million people that don't have the capital availability, that don't have the interest from foreign investors historically, and yet tremendous potential. And so we looked at Pakistan, we looked at Bangladesh, we looked at Sri Lanka, and we said, look, we see Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, we see them in these countries. We see the potential there. We see the breakout that we've had over the last 10 years. And so we started becoming part of the ecosystem, meeting people. We evaluated companies for over a year. And then really during COVID, there was an explosion of activity and the markets opened up. And so, we were one of the first foreign funds really to come in to Pakistan through Bazaar's seed round. And then obviously we led their Series A round, which just got announced. And that's really our approach, is we'll participate at seed and lead Series A rounds now, or co-lead Series A rounds in companies we're excited about. And, we're very excited about Pakistan. By the end of the month, we'll have 3 investments made, 2 that are unannounced for now, but they'll come out soon.
Fantastic. So tell me, Mikal, what's, there's obviously a patriotic passion for some, as you've seen. What, from a business standpoint, what are some of the bigger factors that have popped out to you guys?
Yeah, I actually wrote an article about this recently, and it really was, the question was, what is this and why is this happening now? Pakistan has been there since 1947. Why in 2021 is this explosion happening? And there are really 3 core factors that drive it. One is mobile connectivity. So over the past 5 years, Pakistan's added 50 million mobile phone users, and now there are over 180 million mobile phone users in the country. So 83% penetration. And that's a sort of a critical tipping point. The difference between 50 and 80% is significant. And now there are over 100 million 3G and 4G mobile phone users, right? So the access to data and the access to the internet is key for any digital products, right? And 100 million is a very large and solid base now to work with, on top of 180 million mobile phone users. So that's one factor. Another factor is the improving security situation. So, fatalities, I think in 2011 from terrorist violence was at 11,000. As of this year, we're at about 500. So there's been a dramatic improvement in the security situation, through the military operations in the frontier. And as the region and city has calmed down, as the headlines have calmed down, foreign capital again can get comfortable with investing in the country. During that sort of the most intense period of the violence, foreign investment dried up for Pakistan, right? People did not know how to underwrite what was going to happen next. Now that things have calmed down, people can underwrite a future where, it might be a bit messy on the edges, but for the most part, the country is moving forward. And then the third and probably most important factor is deregulation and regulatory changes. So the state bank has been critical and forward thinking, unlike many other countries in the region. Many of them are looking at the State Bank of Pakistan right now as a template to copy. So the state bank has done several things. One, the most important, is the holding company regulation. Previously, to have a holding company overseas own a subsidiary in Pakistan was extremely difficult. You could not just do it. You would need permission. It would take so long. It was a difficult process. And investor capital is not willing to invest directly into Pakistan entities. They don't know the legal system. And honestly, spending the time to learn it is not a good use of time. And so having a holding company in Singapore or Delaware, where the investment is made, that owns a subsidiary, is a key unlock for foreign capital. And now that the state bank has allowed that, the capital is flowing in. Investors know Singapore, they're comfortable with the legal system. Our lawyers know it. It's quick to get up to speed. We have an office in Singapore. We know the legal system for startups in and out. And so that is unlocked capital. And then obviously all the sandboxes, the SEC changes, all of this shows an interest by the government to unlock foreign investment, unlock FDI, and superpower, supercharge the ecosystem. The fact that, Imran Khan, the prime minister, is congratulating airlift on around, that shows that the government is not fighting the tech industry, right? And if you look at Nigeria right now, where there's a major crackdown by the financial regulators on the fintech and crypto ecosystem, the heavy-handed crackdown, it's the opposite. The regulators are fighting the tech ecosystem, probably protecting vested interests. And there's a major difference, right? And so capital may dry up for Nigeria, at least in the fintech space, in a major way over the next 12 months. And so I really think regulators are a critical enabler for technology ecosystems. And what Pakistan has today has unlocked the flood of capital, and I hope it continues.
Fantastic. Well, thank you for that. And that leads me to my next question, which is something we as Pakistanis are probably very used to. So right now we've got a prime minister and a regime that's very favorable. A year and a half from now, that may not be the case. What's your view on that situation?
I mean, I don't think a lot of investors are thinking about this, to be honest. I don't think a lot of people who are investing in Pakistan for the first time have invested overseas a lot. And so underwriting that is not something they're used to, at least from the US investors that are coming in.
Right.
But I will say that Pakistan politically has changed very dramatically in the last 15 years. And so we've had the longest continuous period of democracy we've ever had. Historically, every civilian government has either resigned or been pushed out of office in a military coup. And we've never had a civilian government finish their term until 2008 to 2013. That was the first one. We've now had 2 handovers of power, 3 civilian governments. So the roots of democracy are deepening and thickening in the country. You have civil society that overthrew the last dictator in 2008. The lawyers came out on the streets and overthrew him. And that muscle memory is still there. I don't think there's a chance of that happening again. And so we are in this hybrid system, this complicated system, where the military does have outsized power. The civilian government, also has now growing power. And it's a balance, right? These things evolve, but it's clear at all levels of society, the orientation is to economic growth. Naya Pakistan, New Pakistan, how do we reach the next level as a country, build our capacity, build wealth for the people, and move forward? And so it's clear that people want to do business now at every level. And that's good, because that's the way forward. And, there are plenty of countries that are in a similar setup that are, building quite a bit of interesting tech. So I think we'll be okay.
That's awesome. Well, no, that's great. And I see your viewpoint. And so you're basically saying we're finding a settling ground where there's, certain democratic features and factors that can grow, but there's an overall control factor that keeps the country in check, which I would agree with you there. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's an evolutionary process, right? All these things go through phases and times, and it takes a while for a civil society to develop and mature. And that space has been created over the past 15 years for, the oxygen is there. And so we'll see, basically.
Absolutely. Well, great. Well, as you know, Mikal, we keep it short and sweet on Tech Sheck. Last question. What are your asks, wants from diaspora, people like us here?
So I heard this interesting stat recently that Pakistan sends 3 times as many university students to the US as India, which shocked me, to be honest.
Interesting.
It may not be true, but if it is true, it's fantastic. And I think what I've observed is a huge diaspora out there in the investing community, in the startup community, working in traditional sort of banks, corporates. There are lots of them out there. And what India and what China and many other countries have done well is mobilize that diaspora, India in particular, to unlock opportunities for the country. And that's happening now. So I'm Pakistani, at Kleiner, Manmohan, who invested in Tajir, is Pakistani, Crew Capital, who invested in Bazaar recently, Asad is Pakistani. There's a diaspora out there. And that's the first wave of capital is being led by us, so to speak.
Right.
And what we have to do is evangelize to the rest of the world. So that's what I spend a lot of time doing. because Pakistan has a branding problem historically. And what we need to do is fix that branding problem personally, at a personal level, and then overall. And that's why I wrote that article. Partly was just to say, look, this is what's happening in Pakistan. This is what's changed. This is why you as an investor, as a founder, should take a look just to the wider tech community through TechCrunch. And then personally, as I meet investors, growth investors, I'm evangelizing with them. I'm saying, look, here's Pakistan. I know the ins and outs on the ground, what's happening. Here's what you should pay attention to. Here's what you shouldn't worry about. Here's what's going on. And if you're looking at something, talk to me, right? I'm happy to spend the time to get you up to speed. We have to do that personal evangelism to unlock additional capital into the country, and then to route talent back. You know, Bazaar has recruited a lot of people who've worked in the US to join their team. That's top tier tech talent. People should look at going back now. If they've been looking for an opportunity, if they've been looking for the right place to land, if they work in tech, we now have a growing sort of fleet of companies that can now, you know, need that talent and can afford to pay them, right? These are huge rounds. Bazaar is not a $30 million Series A is not a small Series A. That's a very large Series A. And so the capital is there now, and what we need is top tier talent. And it's all happening. We just need to, you know, continue to chip away at it as a diaspora.
Awesome. Well, with that, we've come to the end of our time. Mikal, thank you very much for what you're doing and bringing your unique perspective here. I think this is going to be really appreciated by the audience, and literally you're putting your money where your mouth is. So thanks.
Absolutely. All right.
And for our audience out there, as you can see, hey guys, we're going to hit 100 episodes here pretty soon, and the stories aren't stopping. So please like, share, subscribe, continue to support us. We think good things are happening in Pakistan. We've seen $250 million go in over the last couple of years. Let's keep that train rolling. And with that, I bid you all Allah Hafiz.